The Mirai Fury is a snub fighter released back in Alpha 3.19, but I discovered that it's the best ship for this one thing in Star Citizen. Last year I made a video about the new Orison missions released in 3.18, and not much has changed since then. It was removed temporarily in 3.19 and added back in 3.21. The biggest change being that new Orison platforms were added to facilitate these missions if and whenever they decide to start the Siege of Orison event. But what does this have to do with the Mirai Fury? Well, in my video I mentioned that small ships are amazing for these missions, especially now that you can't take a shuttle to the new platforms. The Aurora is still the smallest ship with a bed, but the Fury is the smallest ship in the game, so small you can fit it in ships like the Nomad. I use the Cutlass though, which feels like a tighter squeeze. To put into perspective how small this ship is, not only can you fly into the ground floor of these buildings, but you can also maneuver around in them, going in far enough to check the spawn closets, as well as getting a little peek behind at the juice bar, something that's a lot harder to do with the Merlin and Archimedes because of their massive dick. Although you'll still have to exit your ship and shoot the people you can't reach. The loadout I used for the Fury is 4 size 2 gimbal mounts, each outfitted with a laser repeater. Although I later found out having only one gimbal laser repeater on one of the top weapon mounts is more preferable because the enemies are surprisingly tanky and I don't want to constantly run out of ammo. Other than that, upgrading anything else is kinda unnecessary. I mean, a better shield might be nice if that's what you want. You can buy this ship at the Astro Armada for 693,000 AUEC, which is very pricey and is probably the only downside of using the Fury. For comparison, the Merlin only costs 135k and the Archimedes is 150k AUEC. But even though it's kinda pricey, it's actually more cost effective compared to the 2 other ships I just mentioned. The cheapest ship that can hold the P-52 or 72 is the Freelancer Max, which costs over 2 million AUEC. The Nomad only costs about 950k. Although the Merlin does have an advantage in terms of rentals because it comes with the Andromeda. But if you're really hurting for money, you can always go with the Aurora. The Orison missions as of Alpha 3.22 are much better and more reliable than they were in previous patches. I never ran into any issues of spawn closets or enemies spawning in the ground like I did in 3.21. Although I did run into one issue that prevented me from completing a mission. The only problems I had were the missions would break if I died, the enemies would disappear, or the mission wouldn't progress after I came back. If you found this video helpful, hit that like button, subscribe and ring that bell. For the most part, these missions are pretty good for farm and security rep, and I recommend trying them out. Although I don't like the fact that all the new platforms are essentially copy-pasted from the original platforms. It'd be great to have some more variety. And these missions aren't exactly the best moneymakers in the game, but if you want to know what can make you a shipload of money, then I highly recommend you watch this video right here.